Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Today I have some glitch in the Matrix stories. If you're liking the show, please feel free to drop a like, a comment, and a subscription. It helps a ton. And with that, let's sit back, grip our seats, and enjoy. It happened last year, but honestly, it still haunts me sometimes. I'd gone in for what was supposed to be a routine surgery, just having my gallbladder taken out. Textbook procedure. Everything went fine, or so I thought. I came out of anesthesia groggy but okay. Nothing felt off at first. But maybe an hour later, out of nowhere, my body turned ice cold. My head started spinning, and my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was trying to break out of my chest. I looked at the nurse and said, "Something's wrong." And that's the last thing I remember from inside my body. The next memory is surreal. I was watching it all happen from a corner of the room. Just watching like I wasn't a part of it anymore. I saw myself lying on the hospital bed, white as a sheet. Alarms were blaring. Nurses swarmed in. One started chest compressions while another yelled for the crash cart. It was chaos. And the strangest part, I didn't feel scared. Not even a little. Just this weird, peaceful detachment. Like I was observing someone else's emergency. They were shouting my name, rattling off vitals. One of them even said, "We're losing him." But I stayed there, hovering, listening, seeing everything without really being there. At some point, I looked down instinctively, I guess, and realized I didn't even have a body. No arms, no legs, just awareness, pure consciousness floating in space. Like being inside a dream, only sharper. More real than reality. Then it shifted again. I felt this pull, not like being yanked or dragged, but like gravity had suddenly flipped. I was being drawn upward, toward something, somewhere. And just as I was about to go, I heard it. A voice, not out loud, but in my mind. Calm, clear. Unmistakable. Not yet. And then I slammed back. I gasped like I'd been underwater for hours, choking on air, chest burning. There was a mask on my face, people shouting again. But this time I was in my body. I was back. Later I found out my heart had stopped. Flatlined for nearly 2 minutes. I died, technically. And they brought me back. I didn't talk about what I saw for a while. It sounded too strange, too impossible. But here's the thing. I've never felt more alive than I did during those 2 minutes I was gone. And wherever I was, it wasn't just darkness. It wasn't a dream. I know what I saw, and I'll never forget it. Something deeply weird happened last night, and I can't stop thinking about it. I need to get it out there, just in case someone else has experienced something even remotely similar. It was an ordinary Wednesday evening. My partner, our 10-year-old daughter, and I decided to make our usual go-to dinner. Roasted cabbage wedges, potatoes, and smoked sausage. It's the kind of meal that's become second nature to us. Simple, hearty, and comforting. We've made it so many times, we could probably do it blindfolded. You know the routine. Chop the veggies, season everything, throw it on a sheet pan, and let the oven do its thing. 45 minutes, maybe an hour tops, with zero stress. We kicked things off right at 6 p.m. The oven was preheated to 450 degrees. My partner was at the stove prepping the sausage. I handled the potatoes and our daughter helped season the cabbage. Everyone was in their usual spot, music playing softly in the background, chatting and joking as we worked. We even set the kitchen timer like we always do. Everything felt perfectly normal. When the timer went off, the potatoes looked done, but the cabbage needed a bit more time. Pretty typical. So we slid the tray back in and gave it another 10 minutes. With nothing else to do, we gathered around the kitchen counter and pulled out our phones to scroll and chill while we waited. And then, everything shifted. At first, it was subtle. We all sort of looked up at the same time, realizing it had gotten dark outside. Too dark. Our daughter asked, "Wait, why is it night already?" Which made me glance at the clock on the microwave. 10:03 p.m. Oh, that couldn't be right. It was impossible. We checked every clock in the house, phones, oven, microwave, even my partner's smartwatch. Every single one read the same thing. 4 hours had passed, and none of us had noticed. We weren't watching TV, we didn't nap. Nobody left the kitchen, we were just there, talking, laughing, maybe zoning out for a minute or two, but 4 hours? No way. It felt like maybe 45 minutes had gone by. Maybe. What's even more disturbing, the food was perfectly cooked. No burning, no over-roasted potatoes, no dry sausage. The cabbage wasn't even charred. If the oven had been on for nearly 4 hours, everything should have been blackened beyond saving. But it looked exactly like it always does, crispy in the right places, tender in the center, as if time hadn't passed at all, at least for the food. We stood there in stunned silence, the three of us just trying to make sense of it. We kept asking each other, what were we doing? There were no real answers. We remembered little bits of conversation, but not nearly enough to account for 4 missing hours. It's like time skipped, like something took us out of the timeline and dropped us back in it when it was done with us. I don't have an explanation. I'm not into conspiracies and I don't dabble in the paranormal. But something about last night didn't play by the rules of time and space. A glitch in the matrix. A pocket of warped time. I don't know. But I do know this. We were there the whole time and somehow we weren't. This just happened barely 20 minutes ago, and I still feel rattled. I don't usually experience things I can't explain, but this has left me completely unnerved. I had just put the baby down in his bassinet in our bedroom. He was calm, eyes already fluttering shut. I stepped out and walked down the hall into the living room to chat with my boyfriend for a few minutes. Everything felt totally normal. After we talked, I headed back toward the bedroom, and as I approached, I heard the baby starting to cry. Figuring I'd be back in a second, I stopped at the bathroom right outside the bedroom to quickly use it. The baby was fussing, but it didn't sound urgent, just that soft wail babies make when they're beginning to stir. I figured he'd be fine for a minute or two. Then, as I was in the bathroom, I heard something that made me stop mid-motion. I heard footsteps. My boyfriend's footsteps walking down the hallway. Not rushed, just his usual stride. I clearly heard the bedroom door open, followed by the gentle creak it always makes, then softly click shut again. A second later, I heard his voice, calm and reassuring. And just like that, the crying stopped. Not slowly, not gradually. It was instant, silent. I remember feeling a wave of relief. I even smiled to myself, thinking how sweet it was they'd stepped in to soothe the baby while I took a minute to myself. I washed my hands, opened the bathroom door, and went into the bedroom expecting to find them together. My boyfriend holding the baby, maybe rocking him or whispering to him. But when I stepped inside, there was no one there. Except the baby, still in his bassinet, still lying on his back. And just as my hand touched the doorknob to enter the room, he started crying again, like flipping a switch. No one had been in there. I checked the hallway, the living room, called out to my boyfriend, who was still exactly where I'd left him. He looked confused when I asked if he'd come to check on the baby. He said he hadn't moved, and he wasn't messing with me. There's no way he could have walked down the hall, said those words, and made it back without me hearing him again or seeing him. So what did I hear? The only explanation I can even begin to wrap my head around is that it was some kind of auditory hallucination. But that doesn't quite sit right. I've never experienced anything like that before. No sleep deprivation, no fever, no stress spikes. Nothing to trigger something like this. And here's the thing that sticks with me the most. The baby actually stopped crying for a solid minute, as if someone really had comforted him, as if someone had held him. I don't know what to make of it. Maybe there's a completely rational explanation. Maybe my brain glitched. But in that moment, everything felt real. The footsteps, the voice, the silence that followed. It felt like someone else had stepped in, just briefly, to calm him. And that's what keeps playing on a loop in my head. Something really strange happened tonight. So strange that hours later I'm still turning it over in my head. I don't usually post in places like this, and I'm not someone who buys into every odd or unexplained thing I hear about. I'm a pretty grounded, skeptical person. But what I experienced was bizarre enough that I felt like I needed to write it down somewhere. I'm a mom, and most evenings I take a short walk around our neighborhood with my 2-year-old daughter. It's a little tradition for us, just a way to unwind after dinner and burn off the last of that toddler energy. She loves it. One of our little rituals on these walks is to look for the moon. Doesn't matter what phase it's in. She always wants to find it first. So tonight, we're walking down the sidewalk as usual. We're maybe 5 minutes in when she stops in her tracks and points up to the sky, far off to the left. "Moon!" she shouts excitedly, and sure enough, there it is, a thin crescent, just barely glowing through the dusk. "That's a baby moon," I tell her, and she nods. She's just recently started learning to describe things, so even spotting the moon is a big moment. We keep walking, heading toward the end of the block. We've gone maybe another 100 feet tops, and we're still facing the same general direction. That's when she suddenly stops again, points way over to the right, and says with complete certainty, "Another moon." She just learned the word another, so it caught my attention. At first I chuckled and said, "No, sweetheart, there's only one moon." But then out of instinct, I looked up to where she was pointing. And there it was. Another crescent moon, sitting way off in the sky in the opposite direction from where we'd just seen it. Not a reflection, not a cloud trick. A solid, distinct crescent moon, identical in shape and brightness to the one we'd been looking at just moments earlier. I immediately turned around and looked back toward the first spot where we'd seen it. Over my neighbor's house, where their kid was still playing basketball on the driveway, but the moon was just gone. No trace of it. The sky was clear, no trees blocking it, no clouds drifting by, nothing. My daughter looked back too, her little face scrunched up, clearly confused. She pointed toward the empty sky and softly said, "Bye-bye, moon." Then she turned and pointed back to the new one. "Hi, moon." She did that a few times back and forth, completely convinced she was watching the moon move across the sky like a tennis ball. And honestly, I couldn't blame her. That's what it felt like. I stood there trying to reason through it. I wasn't sleep deprived, I wasn't disoriented. I know this neighborhood like the back of my hand. We hadn't turned around or changed direction. The first moon was absolutely visible over the house across the street. And now the second one was hovering above the creek, near the entrance to the neighborhood, complete opposite ends of the sky. The whole shift happened in under 3 minutes. I've been racking my brain trying to explain it. An optical illusion? A weird light reflection? But it wasn't cloudy, and we weren't looking through glass. We were outdoors, walking on an open sidewalk, and both of us saw the same thing. And yeah, I know she's just 2, but the way she kept saying goodbye to the first moon and hello to the second one, going back and forth like she couldn't decide which was real, it gave me chills. I'm still not sure what happened, but it was one of those moments that snaps you out of your normal routine and leaves you questioning the rules you thought the world followed. If this is the kind of place where people talk about glitches or unexplainable stuff, maybe someone else has seen something like this. Because tonight, for at least a minute, I swear we saw 2 moons. Every weekday morning, my daughter and I walk the 4 blocks from our house to her school. It's become a comforting little ritual, just the 2 of us. While my wife finishes getting ready for work back at home. I work remotely, so after I drop off our daughter, I usually stroll back alone. Most mornings, I'll cross paths with my wife as she's headed out in her car. It's a sweet part of the day. We wave, smile, maybe blow each other a kiss. Nothing out of the ordinary. Except this past Tuesday. It started just like any other. Dropped my daughter off, said goodbye, turned to walk back. A few blocks from home, I spotted my wife driving toward me in her car. Our gold 2012 Toyota Corolla. Same purple hair, same black work scrubs she always wears. And the sports-themed license plate frame we picked out together. She smiled, waved, blew me a kiss. I did the same. I thought nothing of it. Until I walked into the house and saw her car still in the garage. I froze. I called out to her, and there she was, upstairs in our bedroom, still doing her hair. Clearly not dressed yet. She looked at me like I was the one acting strange. I told her I'd just seen her driving to work minutes ago, same outfit, same car, everything. She was just as thrown off as I was and assured me she hadn't even stepped outside yet. The next day, everything went back to normal. I walked our daughter to school. On my way back, I saw my wife leaving like she usually does. Same wave, same kiss. And when I got home, her car was gone, just as expected. Later that day, I texted her during lunch to double-check what I'd seen. She confirmed that yes, she saw me Wednesday morning as she drove to work, but definitely not Tuesday. I still don't know what to make of what happened. It wasn't a shadow, a reflection, or someone who merely resembled her. I know what I saw. It was her face, her car, her wave. Except it wasn't. If there's a glitch in the Matrix, that was it.